Most people think the leaders in health were born optimized, that they've always had energy, clarity, discipline. But today's guest proves the exact opposite. Because before he became known as the world's greatest formulator, before he helped create some of the most impactful compounds in human performance, he was struggling, obese, depressed, battling chronic fatigue, trying to figure out why his body and his mind weren't working the way they should. And instead of accepting that as his reality, he made it his mission to understand human optimization at the deepest level possible. Not just from a textbook, but from transformation. Today, he holds over 40 patents, has formulated hundreds of products, and is one of the most respected minds in biohacking, supplementation, and longevity. But what makes this conversation different is we're not just talking about what works. We're talking about what's misunderstood, what's overhyped, and what actually moves the needle when it comes to energy, metabolism, and long-term performance. So whether you're an entrepreneur, an athlete, or someone who just refuses to settle for normal, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. Shawn, welcome to the show.
In supplements, the FDA will not let us talk about treating, curing, fixing. There's that FDA disclaimer on supplements. And really, one of the most simple ways that I can explain it to a supplement company when I speak with owners is if it's taking you from bad to good, it's drug disease. If it's taking you from good to great, it's a supplement.
Shawn, thank you this morning for joining. You're obviously known as the most trusted person in the supplement world. You formulated, over 12,000 supplements, I would say, right? Or even come up with 40 plus of your own ingredients and your proprietary information. And obviously that takes a lot, right? So if you can take us back to what called you, or what said, let me get into this space. Because in your background, you could have gone anywhere with it. But what made you say, hey, this is the lane I want to do? And you've been successful, obviously.
My mom, I'm 51 years old. I grew up in the 70s. And my mom, ever since I was like a little kid, had Shackley, had the tackle box, the box that you would open that has all the little pills in it. I remember there was the Vital E that was like the whole food multivitamin. She had the vitamin E capsules, and we would take those, and if I got a cut, she would break it open and put the vitamin E on me, vitamin C, all the different things. Like Linus Pauling was taking off of the vitamin C orthomolecular dosing right at the beginning of the 80s. It was like vitamin C just exploded.
Right.
That it's like, wow, it can be a lot more than just the scurvy deficiency preventer.
That we all learned.
And that was like really the explosion of supplements. Really, I feel like vitamin C was one of the kind of big moments, one of the leaps forward. And I just believed in the power of supplements very early on. My mom had me take these things daily, take different things when I was sick, and I just believed in them, and it kind of just grew from there.
Okay. And then in terms of the supplements, when there's a connotation to the average. As a physician, I'm always told, I don't want to take a medication, but I'll take a supplement, or vice versa. Where do you lay, or what would you tell someone? Is there a difference? Is there not? Or how should we view that?
It's a really good question. I feel like there are many similarities and many differences. In some ways, supplements, especially now that we're getting down to the pure actives essentially are pharmaceuticals that have a certain benefit. But I think if you're talking about a full spectrum extract from an herb, there are tens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of components to these full spectrum herbs that are having a number of benefits potentially, and an entourage effect, if you will. As a scientist, I love to study just one compound. I love to know what just that one thing is doing. So I love pure compounds, but I definitely recognize that God is maybe the great formulator, and there's a number of benefits from the group of compounds. For example, in green tea, yes, you have caffeine, but you also have EGCG, which is a polyphenol that may be a vasodilator and have anti-aging effects, increase NAD levels by inhibiting NADAs, CD38, what breaks down NAD. And then you have L-theanine, which is a relaxant to some degree affecting GABA. And collectively now, when I put together the caffeine, the EG, the theanine, you're in more of an alpha brainwave state with mild stimulation versus just being caffeined up.
Right.
So there's really some brilliance in herbs. I find it fascinating. There's a lot of things that are actually truly synergistic or do have this entourage effect. But I also like that now we can study singular compounds similar to how we study medications. And I do feel like we're now hitting a point, thanks to functional medicine and naturopaths and people that are very open-minded on the natural side to peptides and some of the medications maybe that did have benefits more broadly, like ivermectin or even HRT or some of these things. So now we're seeing this meeting in the middle, like, hey, let's use all the tools.
Right.
And I think that's what's really exciting right now is we're using all the tools, and you're seeing compounding pharmacists in particular using peptides, using things that are off-label, using supplements and putting them together as formulators.
Right. And to that point, I think the average person will look at just one ingredient, right? So when you're looking, whether you're studying it, whether you're developing, what's your approach when you're looking at a compound or an herb that the average person doesn't look like, right? So like you just said, green tea, if you ask the average person, yeah, it's caffeine, nothing else. What's the theory behind you when you're like, I want to look at that? Is it because you're trying to solve a problem, because you're interested in that herb, or like run me through that mind? What's in your head
it's all of it. It's all of it. Sometimes I approach it from different perspectives because I've been in the industry so long. Sometimes I'll look at a molecule and say, well, this is well known and it has these documented benefits, these structure function claims. It's patented for these reasons, but here's a sister molecule that has similar, what's called SAR. Like when I look at the organic chemistry, that I can recognize, like, what, based on its structure, what it should also do, and maybe what it'll do better. And so I end up looking at that compound that doesn't have the research, that doesn't have the patents. I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna dig into this one. And especially if I know this one and this one, but nobody knows much about this one, now I can truly extrapolate and interpolate, right?
That's awesome. Okay.
So that's something that I do. And then certainly similar idea, like instead of looking beside at like what I would call a sister molecule, I would also look at metabolites or parent molecules when you're looking at a metabolic pathway. And that's what I did with paraxanthine, for example. That's the metabolite of caffeine. And it's a much cleaner product than caffeine. I've always had issues with caffeine as a slow metabolizer of caffeine, CYP1A2. And now I actually would describe caffeine as the dirty precursor to paraxanthine. Paraxanthine is really the active thing that we want. Caffeine is the thing that's fairly toxic that we don't want.
But that we all take.
But we all take. And that's why people are having this there's an energy renaissance, this clean experience that's happening with paraxanthine that's been really exciting.
So as a physician too, you go to medical school, you go to residency, but we're not taught this, right? So now you're talking about functional medicine, even the stuff we do at Carbon World Health. I had to do that extra education. I had to go the approach, one, because I believe in it, two, because I'm interested and obviously want to keep my patients safe. So what would you tell physicians or colleagues that want to get into the supplement space or want to carry some of the supplements? How do they even start? There's so much noise out there. And would that be a different advice that you would give the average consumer?
Well, first off, I would applaud this person because we need more experts. I'm a biochemist and a registered dietitian. I'm a fellow in the ISSN, and I had to kind of gain credentials to be taken seriously in this field. There's a lot of voices that have very little authority in supplements, especially now with the TikToks and all the things, with all the influencers, Nature's Ozempic and all the things that we're hearing. And it's selling supplements, and some of these supplements are junk and they don't even have the active in them. And even if they had the science isn't legitimate. So we really need our clinicians, our scientific minds, convening, discussing, having the right conversations, certainly not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, there's a lot of poor players in supplements, and there's a lot of great companies in supplements that are aligned with healthcare practitioners. The Thorns, the Designs for Health, the Pure Encapsulations, these are like excellent brands. And I do want to see doctors, if you're not getting it in med school, you just need to empower yourself. I know there's very little nutrition education, very little supplement education. And a lot of, honestly, the drug education is being left to big pharma to kind of inform us. And I think it just needs to be smart. There's a lot of great resources right now. One of the ones that I've always loved was examine.com. You know, it kind of distills down the PubMed data on each of these ingredients. But there are really good sources of information on these ingredients. And I think it's a really exciting time right now in supplements.
And do you see supplements as, you know, one of the things that as a physician or just being a carbon of the concept of optimization? I think we talked about in the panel of, do you take supplements to cure something, or do you also take them to like optimize something? And, you know, because with medications there, I don't want to take it because I don't have a problem, or I only take a medication when I'm ill. How's your view on supplementation? Do I only take them because I need to close this gap, or are they part of my overall longevity, you know, regimen?
That's a great question too. A couple things there. In supplements, the FDA will not let us talk about treating, curing, fixing. You know, there's that FDA disclaimer on supplements. And really, one of the most simple ways that I can explain it to a supplement company when I speak with owners is, if it's taking you from bad to good, it's drug disease. If it's taking you from good to great, it's a supplement. Okay. That's the way we can talk about it. We can't talk about supplements bringing us out of illness. The FDA really does not allow that. The FTC doesn't allow that. So are they used for those reasons? 100%. And that's where, as a doctor, you have a lot more power to blend the two and talk about it in a way that those of us that are not doctors cannot talk about it. So, I mean, that's what's exciting, is I'm seeing a lot more of that blending. I'm seeing a lot more doctors step up and have these conversations, saying all the powerful benefits of these supplements. And in some cases, we're seeing, like with exogenous ketones or C8-MCTs, improve the outcomes with chemotherapy, improve the outcomes with radiation. Can I talk about that if I was selling exogenous ketones or MCT? No, I can't talk about that. Doctors can talk about it. So that's what's exciting right now, is we're in a time right now where doctors can have these conversations. And as far as, you know, what would be taken every day or not, I think there's different strategies for different ingredients. Some things that are substrates, maybe like omega-3s and creatine and your multivitamin and phosphatidylcholine and some of these type of ingredients, I think you could take every day, just like you're eating food. But I think some other things may be more surgical in nature, where you want to just use them from time to time. And honestly, that's a frustration to me with medications, that there's many medications that probably should just be used for a short period of time, and we shouldn't stay on them indefinitely.
Right. And then, so I can imagine, you know, our listeners are saying, well, Shawn, you probably have in your drawer at home, like, thousands of it, right? And then you see the documentary with Johnson where he takes, I don't know, 1,000 pills every morning. Is that your routine? Is that what you see people should be doing?
No.
Or is that more like the influencer, like, you know?
It's more the influencer. I buy hundreds of supplements. I try a lot of things. I want to read the labels, experience them, compare them to other products. I mean, that's the field I'm in. And then I get sent hundreds of products just to review, or when I'm working with different companies, they want to send me their products. So I have, yes, thousands of products. And then I do a lot of flavor work. I do flavor work on powders, on gummies, on ready to drink products. Actually, this drink right here I flavored, and it has a bunch of my ingredients in it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, working with a number of celebrities actually in Hollywood, maybe one of the top 5 most famous people in the world right now on an energy drink that I
Oh,
can't
wow.
talk about quite yet.
No
but
worries, no worries. We're excited to hear about it later.
but yeah, that's the work I'm doing is, um, you know, all of that, all of those things. So do I take all of these things every day? No, I definitely use intuition on just, let me take this today, or I'm also looking at my metrics, my wearables, my blood work, my genetics. I'm looking at all the things and making decisions in real time of what I should and shouldn't be taking. But the scientific side of me likes taking single ingredient products and just being a little bit more surgical with it.
And in your space, obviously, we mentioned influencers and how sometimes it's being like driven off to the side in terms of what we should think. What's the biggest myth in the supplement world that if you had the power, you're like, I want this to go away, what would that be?
Proprietary blends.
Okay.
It really hurts our industry. I've hated it for more than 20 years. For those that don't know what proprietary blends are, for short, prop blends, it's when you have potentially, let's say, like 20 ingredients listed on the label, and it just says the Muscle and Power blend is 2,500 milligrams. That first ingredient, because it goes in order of descending mass by law, the first ingredient could be creatine. Great ingredient, but fairly cheap. And that could be 2,499 milligrams. All other 19 ingredients could be 1 milligram. This is a very dubious practice, and it's gross to me. Like, you want to look for full transparency. You want to see the genus, the species, what it's standardized for, the plant part, the dose. And then you can look that up on PubMed. Does that check out? Okay, they took that same genus and species, that same plant part, the root, that same standardization for the active, 5% ginsenosides, and then, the dose was 250 milligrams twice a day, just like the study. Okay, now that checks out. I want to see more companies using branded ingredients, because the branded ingredients have the trademarks, have the patents, have the studies behind them, have the quality assurance behind them. So I love when I see a product that looks like a NASCAR panel because it's got all the brands and logos, because I can trust this more. The other thing is, when you're buying these products, buy from first party. Amazon has shown about 80% of the products don't meet label claim on Amazon. This is actually Now Foods tested this out on Amazon, I should say. 80% tested short of, and in some cases it's a small amount, but they're not doing stability work, looking at overages, doing work where they're seeing the interactions of all the different herbs over time. That's work that takes time, and that's where like the top quality control teams make a huge difference. But then beyond that, about 20 to 30% of the products on Amazon have zero active, and about that many are counterfeits on Amazon. So even some of the best names that I just mentioned, maybe like a Muscle Tech or a Dymatize or Optimum Nutrition in Sports, or a Thorne or a Now Foods, or whoever, some of these companies, Life Extension Foundation, they get counterfeited. So you want to buy from a first party. If you're going on Amazon, buy from Life Extension Foundation as the seller, buy from Thorne as the seller, or maybe a GNC or Vitamin Shop as the seller, either in brick and mortar or on Amazon. But don't just buy from some random seller, because those could be counterfeit. So you have to be careful with what you're buying.
I hadn't thought about that, but we do see that even in the medical space or medications, right? Well, this one's cheaper, right? Or this one I could get easier. So you just go based on that, thinking it's the same medication, right? Ivermectin, you can get it from a pharmacy, get it online, or overseas, and it's all over the place. And to your point, we don't know,
right.
What is it? Are you actually taking that? So obviously you're extremely busy. You travel the world, you're doing constant. How do you stay sane? Like, how do you, the menopause panel you were on, you're pretty vulnerable, and for high achievers or people that are vision, right? You're sitting here being like, probably thinking 30 other things you want to create in your head. how do you check in and you're like, make sure the wheels don't come off for you?
I stay in service. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. If you talk to, Buddhist monks, or you read passages in the Bible or what have you, like, a lot of it is about being in service. Like, get yourself out of the way. That helped me with my speaking tremendously. I used to worry about what people would think about me, how I would be judged, how I was going to fall short. What if I fail in front of them? And when I transmuted that energy into, I will serve, I'm here, there's someone in this crowd that needs to hear my message, and that one person I'm going to impact today. And I just distill it down to serving. And I think that's had a massive impact on me. Gratitude has had a massive impact on me. I keep gratitude in my heart of, yes, I've worked very hard to get here, but I'm also very blessed to be here. And there's people that have worked extremely hard but are not where I am. I have had a lot of gifts given to me, and I'm not gonna waste it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm here to make the most of it. And I'm on God's path right now. And I think lastly, just remembering to, breathe. Sometimes it's a 4-7-8 breath, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 7 seconds, and then breathe out slowly for the full 8 seconds through your nose. This can help get you into parasympathetic. I try and ground myself, do vagal toning quite often. Another thing that helps when I'm traveling is I have a light box from a company called Light Path, and it has red and blue light in it. And for me, I have blue eyes, and I'm very sensitive to circadian rhythm and light shifts.
Okay.
So for me, first thing in the morning, whenever I'm traveling especially, I'm just hitting red and blue light out of this box. And before I go to bed, I'm doing red light. Of course, when I'm at home, I have a big panel and all that,
Sure.
But when I travel, I bring that with me.
That's awesome. And then you mentioned God a couple of times here, right? And for me, that I have been blessed and God seen in times where, 2 weeks ago, our pastor made us ride on a rock. We forget the times we've been blessed. We remember the times we struggled and overcame, but the blessings, like, I'm blessed, and then we move on, right? But something that stands out for you, just you were one person I wanted to meet, right? That I told people, and then we met you here, and you could have blown me off. You could have been like, hey, I'm high, but and I achieved so much, but you're down to earth. You did want to share with that, and you could see it. So kudos to you in terms of that. How has God played a role in all of this, would you say? Has this been something you've been hold dear and near to you all throughout your life, or did it come later? Or
No, my dad was a pastor actually growing
okay.
up, but I did have the PK experience. I have been all over the place with it, but now it was actually psychedelics that brought me back home, that brought peace back in my heart and gave me space for God.
Okay.
I think I always knew God was in the background, but being able to release trauma and love myself opened a huge space up for God to come in and dwell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I saw your kids and your wife, you travel around. So even in stage, you're waving at the kids, like you connect with them. That's something you spoke about. Because as an entrepreneur, how do you keep your life together at home, right? With your wife and with your kids? Any tricks of the trade when people, especially as men, when we talked about in the panel, you always go, 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 right? And I think in America, or just in our culture, right? That's the role we're given, and then we latch on to that. Meanwhile, everything else is breaking. How do you stay sane with that? And how do you make time for them?
That's the balance, and that's the key, is what is most important in life. I love what I do. I love making impact. I literally would be doing what I do for free if I wasn't getting paid. That's how I know I'm doing the right thing,
Right.
and I'm doing God's work. Is literally at 10 p.m. at night, I'm looking up molecules and all this stuff, and I love it. I love what I do, and that makes all the difference in the world. But I also realize that I need to shut it down, and I can't be on the phone when my daughter needs my attention, wants my attention, and she deserves my attention. And same with my fiance, it's about It's about priorities. Like, this is ultimately what I'm here for, is relationships and making deep impact. Yes, and the impact I make in the world matters, but the biggest impact I can make is in my own heart, my own home. And if you don't have that on lock, if your heart isn't on lock and your home isn't on lock, then what you're doing out here is wasted energy. You need to bring it in first.
Okay. And then I asked you this in the panel too, but now for the listeners, what are things, for me, I've been looking at, when I made mistakes, they've been this repetitive, right? Where people around me are like, my wife, my sister, they're like, yep, I knew you were getting there. And whether they told me, I choose to ignore it, or someone didn't tell me. Has there been those things that played out in your life? And now that you have a check and balance where hey, if I'm not talking to my kids, hey, if I'm not sleeping, then it's kind of your inner check of like something's off. Do you have that? Have you encountered that?
That's true. I mean, you're talking about kind of the red flags that go up, the warning signs, if you will. Absolutely. I mean, you hit some, like, definitely if I'm not sleeping, if I'm agitated or irritated, a lot of times that's a you thing. One thing I learned in psychedelics is, like, when you're in this kind of journey space and you see something that irritates you, that's actually a mirror to you. That's you. That's a you thing. That's something that's telling you about you. It's actually a really powerful tool, is to reflect on why you're irritated right now, why you're not sleeping right now, because something's out of alignment in your heart. There's something that you're living that's not in your truth. And to me, the closer you can get to your truth, to not be in dissonance with your truth, the more ease you have. What's behind all the drive for success? What's behind the drive for the money, the achievement, all the things? Usually that's freedom. You want freedom, be in alignment with your truth.
Right.
It's not about the money, the cars, the thing. It's about being in alignment with your truth. That's where freedom is.
Right, and we always say it's part of the grind, right? And you make these excuses, especially as a man. One of the things that was funny, where it's yesterday, someone mentioned, I don't know if it was you or someone else on the panel, where women will automatically reach to their friends and for help. Have you struggled with that, or is that part of your kind of relief, where you have a group of guys that you reach out to?
I do have a group of guys.
And are you hesitant, or what would you tell someone that's in it or made it that has that scary part? Because I always tell people it's hard to make friends when you're an adult, right? Like, if the friends you had before aren't in your life, it's that awkward at, like, 45, how do I make a new friend? But I need to, right?
Yeah, exactly. For me, I've found that iron sharpens iron, that I need these men in my life. And I started finding that out in men's masterminds, and those would be quarterly meetings and maybe occasional Zoom calls. And then I took that up another notch, where I'm doing men's groups every week, sometimes 2 different men's groups a week. Okay. That's become very valuable for me to open and share and talk about how difficult it is to be a man, to be a protector, provider. As a man, we tend to hold in a lot of our pain. We tend to not share our pain. And so it's been profound to be in these groups, and I've found myself sharing more easily now because of these groups, and certainly holding space for other men in these groups.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Wanted to take you a little bit of everywhere, but I appreciate you. Keep doing everything you do.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. If this conversation opened your eyes to what's really possible with your health, your energy, and your performance, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Do us a favor, leave a review, subscribe, and let us know what topic you want us to tackle next. We'll see you in the next one.